So, how many social media followers do you have? Do you get depressed if you don't get enough likes? Do you really think people in countries, far away that you've never met actually care about you? And how do you begin to explain that to older folks? Let's get started. Very good evening to you and welcome to the Democracy Gauge. I'm Bongani Bingo. Listen, this show is about your life, your experiences, your voices, your South Africa. Now, conflicts and misunderstandings between generations are as old as really parenting itself. That's what we mean when we talk about the generation gap. But with the advent of social media and other forms of digital technology, the strain between those who have access to those tools and those who do not have made this more pronounced than ever before. So from dating sites to banking apps to pictures of your life really as a kind of social CV. I mean, you lost a job opportunity because of an inappropriate post on Instagram? How'd you explain that to your grandmother? And that's why we're asking our poll question this evening. Has social media widened the gap between the young and old? You can choose from our three colors. Green, obviously, is for no. Yellow is for maybe. Red is for no. You can also, of course, send us a WhatsApp video to 065-862-4548. You interact with our poll at sabcnews.com. We're extending the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. There are our hashtags, SABCDG25, and you can also use SABC News. Now, yesterday, at the end of the show, I recorded an interview with Nuisha Roshni, who's a social scientist and expert in youth development through digital technology. She, of course, was in the country for a very brief moment and had to leave, and that's why we did it yesterday. But here are her insights on the matter.
I think there's always been a generational gap, but the digital age has widened that generational gap. So we have youngsters now who, from the age of 2 or 3 are used to using easily, even younger than this, an iPad. I didn't grow up with this. And just to give you a quick, synopsis into this, I was leading a workshop at the Youth Peace Forum in Beirut last year. And, and it was on peace and technology, and we were using digital tools. And so a lot of the young people came to me and they said, we love what you did. We want to keep in touch with you. And they said, how can we do this? And I was like, let me look for my business card. They looked at me like, no. We want to follow you on Instagram. Yeah. And I was so embarrassed to tell them that actually I don't use Instagram. Exactly. So it was quite, and then from that day on, I started to use Instagram.
Because, we've become part of this global community. So in a sense, the irony is that you can follow people from around the world, from across the planet, and be virtual strangers to those around you.
It is. I would say that while I do appreciate the many discussions around the challenges of technology and dividing us and separating us, I would say that I see actually in the ways that young people utilize digital tools and media to bridge those gaps that exist in society. So especially when it comes to like social exclusion.
Yeah. Is it about a mentality though? Because there are older folks who have caught on to things like Facebook, for example. I can't tell you the number of requests I have from former teachers and that sort of thing. Father. Right? So older people are beginning to make sense of a number of platforms that are a little bit more accessible to them.
No, absolutely. And you see a lot of people who have it depends on the people, right? But I wouldn't say that they're tech savvy because they didn't grow up with it. I would even say that, in my generation, if we had access to Twitter or, Facebook came much later on, my life would have been completely different. Yep. And sometimes I believe that I would have been exposed to many more opportunities than I have been myself. So.
What would have been different?
Say just starting with, I'm not going to go into the Me Too movement, but I would have been able to utilize social media platforms to denounce, for example, sexual harassment, right?
Or social injustice.
Or I would be able to promote the work that I was doing and, get my voice out to a much greater and wider audience.
In South Africa, we're pretty obsessed with the idea of social cohesion. We're pretty obsessed with the idea of nation building as a young democracy. How do we bridge that divide between young and old and be able to use use all these digital tools to help us build this nation that we're trying so hard, so desperately to forge?
No, absolutely. And I see this, I mean, I'll take the example of Brazil because that's my area of expertise. And it takes a lot of work for people to accept how young people are basically redefining themselves, but also their society using digital media, and how they're able to break those barriers much faster than the older generation. So I think it takes a lot of understanding, but also exposure. So for example, in any movement or conferences that we had, it's usually led by men older in their 50s. And when we wanted to bring in a platform on a panel on women or a panel on young people, there was a lot of resistance. But once they were able to see how these young people are utilizing digital tools, it was much more appreciated than it was seen as a resistance.
As we wrap the conversation up, it can also, though, be a dangerous place because people also tend to coalesce in groups, in echo chambers. Absolutely. Where views like theirs are what is prominent, and they don't open themselves up too much to anything that's different. No, absolutely. And I completely agree with you. I've led extensive research on hate speech online and digital racism that affects a lot of young people in this case as well. So absolutely. All right. We've got 3 colors to choose from. Green is for yes, yellow is for maybe, and red is for no. Has social media widened the gap between the young and old? Which color would you pick? I would absolutely say yes. You would absolutely say yes, so you pick green, which is the color for yes. All right, that's where we'll have to leave our conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me. That was, of course, a pre-recorded conversation from yesterday. Of course, the show yesterday, we recorded that conversation, and that was, of course, with Nuisha Roshni. Now, for more on this issue, we're joined in our Durban studios by Dr. Ben Roberts, who is, of course, the Chief Research Specialist in the Democracy, Governance and Service Delivery Unit at the Human Sciences Research Council. Dr. Roberts, as we come to you in our Durban studios, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the Democracy Gauge. We're told about the 4th Industrial Revolution and how, in a sense, technology is moving ahead at breakneck speed. There are many, though, who have not adopted the new technologies and, in a sense, are likely to be left behind.
Yes, thanks, Bongani. I think there is a real concern about this potential gap that you've referred to becoming a more salient factor, particularly as beyond the sort of technologies that you've referred to, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams and so on, as we move to more advanced forms of technology, particularly with artificial intelligence. So the prospects of the 4th Industrial Revolution creating more of a generational gap that we've seen is a real prospect. And I think also it has different impacts in different spheres of life, from politics to economics, and indeed to the social frontier. So we're 3 weeks away from an election, and we're obviously seeing a huge potential for the impact of these technologies in that domain.
Dr. Roberts, we can talk about social media, I suppose, and maybe the lighter side of life, but as you point out, there are bigger and more broader considerations. If we think about the world that is coming, a country like South Africa is still very much a developing country. Are we, even as a country, going to get left behind? And are we putting enough in place to make sure that that doesn't happen?
Well, I think certainly if you look at, from a policy point of view, the Department of Science and Technology and indeed the business sector is taking it really seriously. They're talking about huge investments in this in the technological domain, and so we are trying very hard not to get left behind. It will require huge investments, but we do have huge social investments happening. I think we're in less than a week ago, we've seen big developments in relation to the first image of a black hole and the role of South Africans in that particular space and in contributing globally to the science behind that imagery. So I think that's just one small example, but significant example of South Africans playing a global role in shaping this next frontier. But for the majority, there's a real potential that that many could get left behind, exacerbating economic inequalities even further.
But let's talk about the continent at large. I mean, we know that we're a young continent. In the coming decades, we are potentially the continent that's going to grow the most. Are there opportunities there for innovation and creating sort of solutions for the world based on what might appear at least uniquely African problems through technology?
Well, I think certainly that's what we're starting to see. South Africa as a whole, not just South Africa at the tip, is really facing huge problems, for instance, in relation to climate change. So I think we've seen big developments in relation to the use of technologies in a very strategic way to take advantage of micro-level shifts in the climate and to try and keep ahead in the fields of, say, agriculture. I think there's big innovations on the cards in relation to the strategic use of our Indian Ocean resources. And I think we are starting to see huge potential gains for Africa, but as I say, it requires certainly the levels of capital investment over a sustained period of time, and I think that's going to be the real challenge. I think the intellectual resources are there, and sort of the real basis for that. The seed investment is there, but it's need to take it to scale over a sustained period to be able to really capitalize on those kind of innovations.
All right, as we wrap up a conversation, final question to you, and not to be ageist or anything, but clearly it seems to me that young people are going to be at the forefront of driving innovations, our adoption of those. So many countries on our continent, even including ours, of course, are led by significantly older folks, shall we say. How important is it that we bridge this gap?
I think it's critically important, Bongani. I think it's all about the nature and direction education takes in countries in South Africa and across the continent. It is about recognizing that we need to move vocationally to different types of strategic education. But also, I think it's a misnomer to say that it's only old intellectuals that are driving innovation. I think certainly coming back to my example of the black hole and the imagery around that, it was actually young South Africans playing a critical part behind the scenes, and there's been huge investment in that kind of sector. So I think it's not only greying academics. I think it's a young generation too, and providing them the opportunities to meaningfully contribute to this sector.
All right, we'll have to leave our conversation. Thank you very much, Dr. Ben Roberts in our Durban studios there. Now, a reminder of this evening's poll question. Has social media widened the gap between the young and the old? Green is for yes, green is for yes, yellow is for maybe, and of course, no is red. Do remember to send us your WhatsApp videos, 065-862-4548. We'll share some of those thoughts after this break.
We do not just speak, we let every voice in our nation find full expression in language and in culture. We do not just teach, we empower all people with education. We do not just bring you the news, we place you where the news is happening. We do not just entertain, we take you on journeys. We do not just broadcast sport, we create an arena for sporting heroes to inspire you. Ours is not just a job, it's a calling to ensure that everyone in our nation is informed, educated, and entertained. We're able to do this because you do your part. SABC TV licenses. It's all made possible by you.
Well, as you know, on this show, we care about what you think. You can interact with all our issues as we raise them, particularly, of course, even on social media. You have an opportunity to engage with us there. Today, we're looking at what you've been saying on Facebook. And someone says it's all about making money. It's become a business and our laws are weak. This is in reference to social media. Marabunya says the advantages of social media far outweigh the disadvantages. Political wars in South Africa were being won on social media, being one on social media since 2014. And I think that's a very, very interesting point, particularly, of course, as we, 20 days or thereabouts before we go to the polls. How much have you been influenced as a younger person, as an older person, by what you are seeing on social media? Albert says, good evening, SABC. Yes, the young people are always the ones who understand social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on, whereas our elders lack information due to a lack of understanding and also operation. I mean, I suppose that's a story that's true across the world, that there is this divide between young and old. Right, so that's the picture on social media. As you know, we encourage you to send us WhatsApp videos to tell us your views. We'll have some of those right now. That means then it's time for the People's View, which allows you to interact with the show and really send us your information from the comfort of where you are in the country. Let's take a look at what some of you have been saying.
Social media has not widened the gap between the young and the old. Instead, I think that it has brought us even more together. There's so much information that's being shared, and there's so many things that we know that I know. So it's definitely brought us close together.
No, social media hasn't widened the gap between young and old. It has actually brought young and old together. Now people that are old are now into social media. They can find out information and they can actually be on the know like we do know. So I think actually it has brought us closer. We now actually have something to talk about when we're actually with the old people.
So that is an undeniable fact, because social media, it's a lifestyle, it's a way of living, it's our everyday thing. Now, if you look at our parents, they are not more technologically advanced as maybe the young kids. So you typically not find a parent or a 65-year, 50-year-old as dealing with technology. So it definitely has increased the gap between the young and the old.
Tech-savvy gogos, it does seem at least that the views there are divided. Now, if you want to be part of the People's View in our show, you can send us a WhatsApp video like you've just seen there, 065-862-4548. At the end of today's show, I'll throw forward to tomorrow's topic. Now, after the break, we will head to the Northern Cape to meet one Tamsanga Dlambulo.
Every year, more and more people all around the country are saving money on their car insurance. Let's meet some of them.
Tell me how you feel about being in one of these insurance ads that you've seen on TV.
It's exciting. The husband is a bit jealous.
When you did make that call, what was the experience like?
They listened to you and they helped you save.
How much did you end up saving?
Almost 500 Rand a month. With the savings, we can do more things as a family. Switch and save.
Yes! When?
Now.
Right now?
Yes.
Tell them.
It's your time, it's your time, it's your time, it's your time.
If you think it's a hassle getting a quote, put us to the test. Call or SMS now for a quick quote and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473.
So how did you hear about insurance?
So it was a TV ad. Normal day-to-day people hearing their testimonials and hearing how much insurance saved them. You want to put up your hand and say, that's me. I want to save money. Often you see these ads and you think, okay, well, they've been told what to say, but it's not. And you ask the question.
You're not a professional actor?
No.
How much did you end up saving?
300 Rand. Cha-cha.
If you've been with the same insurer for years and haven't recently put OutSurance to the test, call or SMS now and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473.
So how did your path cross with OutSurance?
My nephew referred me because he had just switched and saved.
Yeah. How much did you save?
Over 900 Rand.
What are you doing with your saving every month?
I want to go to the Caribbean island. I want to go and get my groove back.
You need to give your nephew a shout out. Give him a shout out, Bonita.
Dale, you are awesome.
And now, she and Mr. Quipman are going to get their groove back.
They've all saved. Why shouldn't you? SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
So what happened is I made the phone call and I asked Olisa to just call me back. He explained everything to me, a meaningful conversation.
How much did you actually end up saving?
Almost 750 rands. That's how I switched and saved. But I'm glad our paths crossed.
We could make an outsurance connection here. Have you and Kolisa gone out on a date or something?
No, it was just insurance.
Oh, is it your time?
Yeah, it's my time.
Just think what you could do with the money you save. SMS SAVE to 34473. 2019, it's your time to save.
Made a call, so what did I have to lose, right? I had the nicest conversation with Naz. He ended up saving me over 1,000 rand.
What?
Yeah.
How long were you then with your previous insurer?
Around 2009.
Nearly a decade.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money there that you could have saved, right? Let's focus on the future. If you were to give somebody advice about starting off the new year.
Make 2019 yours. Have a 2019
SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
Right, if you've been watching the show for the last couple of weeks, you know we've crisscrossed the country to get the views of South Africans because, of course, that is important to us. You can check all our stories, those we've featured before and those to come, on our elections website, sabcnews.com/elections. There they are. Click on any of these icons and you'll be able to have a look and a sense of the stories we are tracking. Today we are in Kimberley. We are tracking the story of Thamsanqa Dlambulo, who is an entrepreneur from that part of South Africa. He's 37 years old and he runs a youth development center, and he wants government to invest more in the country's young people.
I'm Thamsanqa Dlambulo. I am born and bred in Kimberley. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a very positive person. I am positive about the future of this country. Hence, I'm running this NPO. We have kids coming through. We help them with homework. We help them with assignments. We are based in a poverty-stricken area. Okay, there's a lot of drugs happening here, alcohol, violence, you know.
I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm broke but not poor.
I was fortunate enough my parents were teachers. So they could afford to take me to a good school. So in 91, we were taken to what is now known as Model C, former Model C schools. In 94, I was sitting in a class full of white people. We knew that everyone was going to vote for the first time. And then we knew that there was not going to be any separation between black and white. After school, reality struck. Whereas all my friends, especially the white friends, they didn't struggle with anything. They went to varsity. Some of them took gap years, went overseas, went to Australia, UK, you know, that type of thing. And here I am, stuck at home, no money to go to school. And then I started seeing things in a different light. It seems as if the promise that was given to us in 94, it's just an illusion. The reconciliation that took place wasn't the true one. I felt it wasn't the true one. It was, okay, let's be friends, let's go to the mall together, but I'll keep my privilege. And then you keep your poverty. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is to me. The vision that I have is of true equality. And this can only happen if the poor and the black have or gain economic emancipation. And the only way, in my view, for that to truly happen would be the land issue. I'll go with yellow because I feel that we really need to be cautious. I've been a good citizen. I don't have a criminal record. I'm a father. I'm raising 3 beautiful daughters. I think the government could be doing better to assist someone like myself or all those that are working with me to make that difference, because government can't change the drug situation all by themselves. You need people in the community to stand up and do something, and then government comes in and partner with these people.
So what were you doing in the build-up to that first democratic election in 1994? On this day, 25 years ago, we were introduced to the structure and role of what has become now one of the most trusted institutions in South Africa. That's the Independent Electoral Commission.
On April 26, 27 and 28 this year, over 22 million people are expected to cast their votes in our first ever democratic elections. And they must be able to do so safely, secretly and securely. Who is going to make sure that this happens? Who is going to be able to say at the end of it all that these were truly free and fair elections? The Independent Electoral Commission, that's who. The Independent Electoral Commission, or as they are called, the IEC, is an independent body, which means its members were elected from all walks of life, and they stand outside of politics. They are here to ensure that you, the voter, will be able to vote freely and fairly with confidence.
They delivered by a young Gcinam Mhlophe. Now, before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the results for today's poll. This should really be interesting. They're the numbers coming up on your screen. No is at 14%, maybe 20%, and a whopping 66% say, yep, it has widened that gap. Well, thank you for taking the time to watch and particularly to participate in our show. Tomorrow we're asking this question: do we need quotas in sport? Now there's a controversial one. That means our poll is now open. You can choose from our three colors. Green is for yes, yellow maybe, and red is for no. And of course, if you want to be part of the discussion, send us a WhatsApp video. Don't wait till tomorrow, do it now. 065-862-4548. Send us your WhatsApp video. Do we need quotas in sport? Thank you for watching. From Fortune and myself, until tomorrow, ubusuku benzolo. Good night.